One of the most common writing struggles happens before any writing actually even begins. Today I'll be sharing some of my favorite methods for coming up with ideas to write about. As always, every writer and their process is going to be a little bit different, so these are just the methods that I have found personally helpful for myself, and so they may not necessarily be the best methods for you. So with that out of the way, here are some of my favorite methods. I use these methods for coming up with anything from character arcs, world building details, and plot elements. The first one is going to be reading outside of your genre. Reading outside the genre you want to write in is a very common piece of advice for this part of the writing process, and it definitely makes sense. Reading different books or stories in general that are different from what you're looking to write will be an influx of different material for you to use to pull and draw different ideas from. These can help your brain bring together different ideas in unique ways. It's also really good to read things that are similar to what you're looking to write because it'll help you keep up with trends and different things that might be changing in that sphere. Reading and taking in lots of different kinds of stories will help broaden the pool of things you can draw from when it comes to creating things like different tropes, character archetypes, and plot devices. Alright, the next is idea mashing, or comping. You've heard lots of these things all over the place. They are Narnia meets Star Wars. It is Lord of the Rings meets Rapunzel. It is Sherlock Holmes in space. These are all rather ridiculous versions of this idea, but they get the point across. You'll hear these kind of comps from all kinds of writers because they're interesting, quick, and easy for people to understand. Comparative titles are used by a lot of different writers in a lot of different places, but for the most part you'll see it in two main places. One is in traditional publishing when you are querying books to agents or publishers, and the other is when you are casually talking to people about your book. But this can also be used way before either of those times when you are just trying to find ideas to write about. You can use the question, how might you take two very different ideas and combine them together to make an interesting combination? When I was working on TDC, I used this in a little bit of a different way. I asked myself how I might take the elements that I love about stories like Narnia or Alice in Wonderland and combine them with trends of modern YA stories. I really wanted to incorporate the idea of kids from Earth going to a magical land, but I also wanted to dive deeper into how that would affect them and their lives in the long run. And also, what if the choice to remain in the magical land or return home wasn't so easy as it was in those classic stories? These are two of the main ideas that really intrigued me about this series and made me want to keep writing it. Alright, next is life experiences. This one should be used carefully. Unless this is a memoir, you obviously shouldn't be putting in tons of stories about your real life into your book. Like, say using a difficult experience you've gone through to help you understand a character's backstory, using your experience with something like, say, stubbornness, to help you write a character that is dealing with overcoming their stubbornness. It can help you to understand a character better and write from deeper inside their brain. You should probably keep it to helping you understand your characters better and not necessarily creating actual plot events. But helping you understand your characters better helps you create other plot events. So it kind of goes with how to create book ideas, but not necessarily creating events. Next is world observations. Sometimes book ideas are observations of the real world, but taken to an extreme. There are different ways to go about this, and it is also one that should be used carefully. Taking events and thinking about how they could have gone differently can make interesting ideas for stories. For a famous example, you have, of course, 1984, and then basically anything in the dystopian category and a lot of sci-fi. But I do think with a little bit of twisting and poking, you can probably use this for a lot of other genres as well. Alright, the next one is practice. Coming up with ideas can kind of be thought of as a skill, in the way that if you practice at it, it will become easier for you. There are actually ways to teach your brain to create on command, and I think that is very cool. Just like you can teach yourself how to write by keeping good habits, you can do the same thing with coming up with ideas. This is a method that I tried out for a little while, and I think that it really did help me learn to consistently come up with new ideas. The process is very similar to creating a writing habit. You dedicate time to doing something, and you try different ways until you find something that works for you. There's a ton of material out there on the full process, and I'm definitely not an expert, but I will try and leave some links down below. Okay, and last is free writing. Free writing kind of goes with the last one, but for me it is my favorite and most reliable method for coming up with new ideas. Free writing is just as it sounds. You sit down with a blank page and you start writing, coming up with different ideas and trying to connect them in interesting ways. I usually try to focus on a certain topic, but if something else catches my mind, catches my eye, I don't know, catches my mind. If something else catches my attention, then I sort of kind of try and run with that. Probably how I come up with about 80% of my large-scale ideas for my books, including very recently the plots of the next 3 Alexia Legends books. This method is also helpful to keep me on track while I'm writing. When I'm feeling distracted by ideas, free writing can help me sort of express them and just get them onto paper so I know that they are there and I can come back later. It's kind of like I'm using up my idea energy or something because I can just do like a 30-minute free writing sprint and get it all out of my brain so I can continue focusing on, say, drafting or whatever I happen to be doing at the time. I don't usually time my free writing sessions because I know I'll run out of steam in like less than a half hour, but once I'm done, I will read through all my pages and do just a really quick little organization. Sometimes I'll just highlight things of interest with different colors depending on what project they might go into, and I always have a running notes document for ideas for each project, so it's really easy to keep things organized that way. Free writing definitely appeals to that little part of my brain that wants to be a discovery writer, but the big con of this method is that it is pretty messy. My free writing pages are basically just disaster zones. What are some of your favorite ways to come up with ideas? Go ahead and drop a comment down below. I would love to hear what your methods are. All right, if you would like to dive into the world of Alexia, you can start with Age of the Gods, which is a free short story available on my website, which I will link down below. All right, that's all I got for you today, so thank you for watching. Bye! Hey guys, just wanted to jump on really quick and let you know that the beta reader application for Alexia Legends 2 is now up. I will leave that linked down below if anybody would like to join the beta reader team for book 2. Might not normally go to... I hit the microphone! I hate when I do that.